First of all, I know I'm kind of late, and June 6th was yesterday, so it was a D-Day memorial. And the reason I'm showing you this movie, it's not because it's on the OLED, but also to remind everybody what has happened in the past could easily happen in the future. And it's important for this generation to understand and learn that the freedom that you have didn't come free. Young men and women who have served in the armed forces, and when I say women, I mean nurses who were there, they all dedicated their lives to bring us the freedom that we have today. All right, other than that, let's talk about why I choose Saving Private Ryan to watch it on the OLED. So I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the Dolby Vision here and the settings that I'm using. So let's get on with it. Also, I want to say this video will not be monetized. All the proceeds, everything will go towards Paramount Studios and DreamWorks Studios. I'm not going to make any penny. I cannot make any penny out of this. I'm just using it as a fair use. So just for the record. All right, so one of the reasons why I would recommend for you to watch this movie in OLED, it's because of the contrast ratio that OLED obviously has. No LCD panel with the LED backlit and whatever technology they put in there, I don't care. They cannot achieve this type of a contrast ratio. You know, LCD LED can achieve the best that it can achieve for the LCD, which would be Z9F and Z9D in terms of a contrast ratio. But when it comes to OLED, it's really tough to beat this contrast level ratio. And what do I mean by that? I mean that OLED reproduces the purest, deepest, darkest pitch black levels as if you have turned off the TV and turned it back on. And you're going to get that best possible contrast ratio. And that's what the movies also want. They want to have that contrast ratio and that canvas, that dark canvas, so they can be painted with all of this detail. And watching Saving Private Ryan with Dolby Vision on OLED, if you happen to have Dolby Vision disc that I have here, Saving Private Ryan, which is right over here, which I assume you guys do, and then you implement a OLED television with Dolby Vision, and you implement a Dolby Atmos surround sound, you are truly going to experience this movie the way it was meant to be experienced, honestly, in my opinion. And you will see stuff that you normally wouldn't see on this film. I'm going to show you the settings and everything, but when I first saw this movie, it was all kind of bleak and gray because that's what the film director wanted. But what the OLED does, it really gives you more depth of picture. You see stuff in the distance, like you notice certain things that you didn't notice before in this movie. Like, for example, right here, when they get all bunkered in against this wall from the Nazis firing from that top nest on the hill, on the beach. And you can see all of that sand on the uniform, like every little bit of that sand from the beach, you can see it on Tom Hanks's helmet. You can see it on everybody else's, Tom Sizemore, everyone who is there, on this scene. You see the detail on that uniform, that brownish, dark green uniform. You notice the dirt, you notice the so much of detail you notice. But that's because you have that contrast ratio. It is difficult to see stuff when you have a LCD panel. The dark levels will never be as dark because it's an LCD panel. It's impossible for an LCD panel to achieve those deep dark levels. And this is something I tried to come across try to explain to people as to why you want to watch movies on the OLED. And this is why I choose to watch the movies on the OLED, because I get to see the detail that I normally didn't see while watching it on the previous versions on the LCD panel. You know what I mean? And that's the one biggest caveat about the OLED is the viewing angles and the contrast ratio, the best contrast ratio. It's almost three-dimensional. It's just like you're watching a 3D movie, hypothetically speaking, but it's like that. All right, so this is what I'm using for Dolby Vision. This is a Cinema Home Dolby Vision preset. That's a custom preset. Very important. The OLED light has to be set at 50 for Dolby Vision, because Dolby Vision is already encoded to the highest possible peak brightness you can get. So for the OLED light has to be at 50, because if you go above 50, what's going to happen is you're going to be clipping your white digital levels. So you want to keep it at the 50. Contrast, it's at 100. Brightness at 50. I left the sharpness at 10 because this movie is shot with 35mm camera. Okay, the same camera that Spielberg used on previous movies like Amistad, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, etc., etc. So the best thing to do here is leave the sharpness at 10, because there is a grain here, and I felt leaving sharpness at 10 reduces, I wouldn't say reduces, but it smooths that grain. So the grain doesn't look like it's snowing, you know what I mean? In terms of color, honestly, guys, whenever you're watching an HDR on the OLED, whenever you're watching a Dolby Vision on the OLED, keep that color at 50. You don't need to mess around with the color, guys. You already have the best possible color. You got the OLED, you got the HDR, you got the Dolby Vision. You got the best possible color there is. All right? So leave it at 50. Now, let's move on to the expert controls. Dynamic contrast, I decided to use it as high because I'm watching Dolby Vision and I want to squeeze as much of that three-dimensional look and depth of picture. So I keep it at high. Let's move on to the picture options. Noise reduction and MPEG noise reduction. This will not take any effect on a ultra high definition 4K HDR Dolby Vision movies. This is only for your digital cable, so leave this on automatic. You can't touch the black levels because on the Dolby Vision that's already locked in. And for the love of God, please everyone, turn off the True Motion off. Okay, if Steven Spielberg walked in and saw you watching this movie in True Motion, he would just walk out. He probably wouldn't say anything. He would just walk out. Guys, this is not how Spielberg... If Spielberg wanted to film this movie with a 120 or 144, frames per second or something like that, he would have done that. He didn't want to do it like that. All right? So keep the True Motion off. And every scene in this movie will really make you appreciate the OLED even more, especially if you have like a really good 4K player, which I happen to have. Granted, I happen to have Oppo UDP203 and I'm using Belkin cables, ultra high speed, and of course with the Dolby Vision OLED, this movie, like I said, you see stuff that you normally wouldn't see on the LCD. I watched this movie on the LCD. I watched it on the QLED. I watched it on the other LCDs that I have, TCL. It looks good, but I know something is missing. Like my eyes know that something is missing, okay? Guys, this is a fact. The LCD panel cannot bring you those perfect pitch black, deep dark levels. It's never gonna happen. That's just a fact. Only OLED can do that at the moment. Well, there you have it. I hope you guys appreciate this video. Thank you for watching. Have a good one, though. Take care.